I even think that the two games that they've lost in the league, both away from home, against Aberdeen and Hibs, they've bounced back straight away.
Yeah.
They're undefeated at Tynecastle in the league. They're very strong there. They've got the majority of the crowd behind them.
Yeah, it's really interesting in terms of, obviously St Mirren win the cup, and they've had a few tough results in the last few weeks under Stephen. Aberdeen changed manager. Dundee have picked up probably the last month under Stephen, where a month ago you're thinking they were dead and buried at one point in terms of they could be in a bit of trouble. But like you say, the teams will beat each other.
I think you've probably seen it in the one game that stands out to me was the Aberdeen game that they lost and Shankland never played. I think he's the real focal point for Braga and Kazadiris to really flourish and play their own game.
I think it's going to come down to the wire. I really do. And you're right about the recruitment. I think that'll be the key thing. Celtic need, I think, 4 or 5 players in. I think Hearts will bring a couple in. I still think Rangers will strengthen. You're right, at this moment in time, Hearts are in the driving seat.
Welcome to the warm-up with myself, Charlie Adam, Paul Hartley and Barrie McKay. How significant will the result be on Sunday between Hearts and Celtic for the title?
Well, I think it's massive for both clubs. If Hearts can get the 3 points, takes it to 9 points clear. Celtic win, goes to 3 points. So I think it's a bigger game for Celtic. Hearts have beat the Old Firm teams, I think, about 4 times this year. So if they can get the right result on Sunday, that could maybe take Celtic out of the title race.
And I think for us, looking at it, and I'm a former Rangers player, looking at it now, what are Rangers thinking with they two matching up? They're playing at home to Dundee. You've been there as a player yourself, thinking about Celtic going to drop points, and then you go out to warm up and they've dropped points. I think it's a big game on Sunday at Tynecastle, and I think if you're Rangers, you're looking at that thinking, hopefully something can drop for you then to take advantage of it later in the day.
I think they'll be hoping for the draw.
Yeah.
On Sunday, knowing what they have to do against Dundee, who have picked up under Stephen. So that'll not be an easy game for Rangers, but they're probably the form team at this moment in time.
I think it's huge. I think a lot of questions have been asked at Hearts this season. Every time they go ahead, and they've answered them. As you said, they've beat them home and away both times as well. So they're definitely playing with a lot of confidence.
Well, I said when I was last on here that I didn't think Hearts can win the league, and I think a lot has changed since then. But Hearts have had a couple of setbacks recently, obviously getting beat from Falkirk, but they bounced back quickly after that and they've won the games, and I think that will be key with where Derek is concerned. I think the big games are where you want to be playing, and I think if Hearts are in a position now at the top of the league, I think they'll relish it. And like you say, they're confident. They've beaten the Old Firm home and away, both teams, so it's going to be a brilliant game to actually make a dent in whoever's title race, but I don't think it's going to be defining.
I think the 2 games last week as well, that they had a man sent off in both and managed to win both. I think every other team would have been looking at that's probably a game that they're hoping that they're going to drop some points, and to come through them with 3 points in both games, I think was huge for them.
I even think that the 2 games that they've lost in the league, both away from home, against Aberdeen and Hibs, they've bounced back straight away.
Yeah.
They're undefeated at Tynecastle in the league. They're very strong there. They've got the majority of the crowd behind them. Gone in the days where Celtic or Rangers behind the goal, the full amount of the allocation of 3,000. There's about 650 Celtic fans or Rangers fans behind the goal now in the away end. The majority is Hearts fans, and that's a big advantage playing at Tynecastle.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think that was the end of Brendan Rodgers, wasn't it? The last Celtic Hearts game. So, let's say, going in that, and they've changed managers since that. So Martin's now back in with plenty of experience with the players, and they've been over the course and distance, but I thought on the day that last game at Tynecastle, Hearts sort of dominated that game and were very, very good. So Derek will be looking for a big performance for his team. And like you say, Tynecastle, when it's rocking, it's a brilliant stadium to be playing it.
Yeah, well, it is. It's once the fans get right behind you, I think there's no better place to play. And I think they know the importance of the game on Sunday. And yeah, I think it'll be a cracker, to be quite honest with you.
What's your guys' favourite title memory?
The favourite title memory for me is, well, obviously I was not really part of any title winning teams. I played 16 games in I think 07, 08, but didn't really feel part of it. Both cup finals, one of them I was suspended for, one of them I was left out in for the cup final, 19th man. So I think just being around Rangers and the history of the Rangers, I think the scenes at Tynecastle when they won the title that time when I was going back there was special. But when you've been around a club that's won titles, you could feel it and you could be, you're part of it. That's something that drove me in my career as a young player all the way through. But there's so many memories watching Rangers as a young player in the academy, seeing them win titles, and one that jumps out to me is probably they won the title that they won at Hibs at Easter Road. They call it Helicopter Sunday. Something like that sort of sticks out to me in terms of where they were, behind, and then eventually at the end of the season they finished at the top of the league.
I look at the 07-08 season. I think we were 7 games to go and we were 8 points behind Rangers. I know Rangers had the UEFA Cup run that season. I think they had a couple of games in hand. We played Motherwell at Celtic and we get beat 1-0 and the fans were booing us off the pitch. And then with 7 games to go, we still had a double header against Rangers. We managed to win it 2-1 with Jan Vennegar of Hesselink, scored the winner, and then we beat them 3-2, I think 10 days later. And then it was the last game at Tannadice. Rangers were up at Aberdeen. They get beat 2-0, and we managed to beat Dundee United 1-0, and we won it in the last game on goal difference. It was an unbelievable feeling. It was getting into that last 7 games and just the memories of that season.
Mine isn't quite the top leagues that you've done, but mine was probably, obviously the 3rd division was probably big for me in the sense that it was my first one and it was the start of the journey back, but probably the championship one, and not just the fact that we won, I think it was the style that we done it in, and to finally get the club back to the top league was massive for the club as well, and to obviously be on a part of that journey was pretty special.
Going into these 3 sort of teams at the moment, Rangers, Hibs, Hearts and Celtic, winning titles previously in this moment, Paul, do you think is a big thing? Because if you look at the Celtic group, they've got a lot of players that have won a lot of league titles, and they've got experience. Do you think that will help them going into this last period under?
I think when you get into the last maybe half dozen games, if it's tight, I think it's going to go down to the wire, to be quite honest with you. And I think your experience then counts for that. You've got Callum McGregor, the amount of titles he's won. Tierney's won titles. Celtic have been used to winning, so that definitely has an advantage over the other teams. So some of the players in Hearts, maybe Rangers, have not been used to the pressure.
That's where, and I see that not just the players but the management. Obviously Derek's very vastly experienced manager, obviously won trophies, but not to this magnitude of terms of trying to win a league title. Danny Rowe's a little bit different, has been an assistant for a long time but had experience at Sheffield Wednesday, and Martin has won everything.
Yeah.
So going into this last period when it starts to get a little bit of tension, I think, let's say Martin's in probably a better position as a manager than the other two. But again, it's ultimately when they go on the pitch, can they deliver as a group of players? And that's where I've tried to go with that experience of McGregor and Ralston and people that have won titles on a regular basis in this sort of last 6-8 games of the season to go.
Yeah, and I think it'll be how you come out the window. Who's going to be the strongest? Who's going to have the strongest squad? To be quite honest with you, I think that's going to be the key. Coming out of January, where are you placed? Who's got the best squad? But I do think the experience of the Martin O'Neill, he's clever and he uses the media well. He knows how to work them. And he said that you've got McGregor in there that knows how to win league titles.
I think it does help with how many Celtic have got, when the ones that come in that maybe haven't done it, that they can kind of lean on them and just kind of give them that wee edge to what is expected.
But I think it's good that we're talking about a title race. I think over the last 10, 15 years it's been one way, innit?
Yeah.
To be honest with you. And now you're talking about a title race with 3 teams. And I think other teams are still going to have a wee bit of a say. I think you look at Motherwell, I think they're probably the best footballing team in the Premier League what I saw. Hibs have still got a strong squad, so I think it's going to get right down to the wire.
I think it's been a season where there's been a lot of upsets and loads of teams beating each other rather than just teams turning up and just winning games quite comfortably.
Yeah, it's really interesting in terms of, obviously St Mirren win the cup and they've had a few tough results in the last few weeks under Stephen. Aberdeen changed manager. Dundee have picked up in probably the last month under Stephen, where a month ago, you're thinking if they were dead and buried at one point in terms of they could be in a bit of trouble. But like you say, the teams will beat each
Do
other.
you think the fear factor's there now when like teams go and play the Old Firm? I don't think the fear factor is there as much now, even when they go away from home. They go to Ibrox and they go to Parkhead. I don't think the fear factor is there for the away teams to go and play now, to go and express themselves.
You're definitely seeing teams having a lot more of a go. You always look back at it and as you as managers or players, you always just thought if you can get Rangers Celtic past the first 20 minutes, the fans will start to turn on them and then you can just start to play for there.
Many teams went and parked the bus. Didn't they have a go?
So many.
They came out the game like maybe get beat 2-0 today. 2-3-0 would be quite happy with that. But no, I think you see more and more teams going and having a go now.
But even my experience of going to, and I use Celtic Park as an example, is that under Walter, we'd sit 4-5-1 and think, right, we had Kuzan at the top end of the pitch and on his day like could cause problems. And we'd sit in there, wait and counter-attack so quickly because Celtic expect them to open up. They want to come and attack you and they did that, but they opened the game up for you. So there's no shame in that. And I think teams like now in the Premier League don't fear the Old Firm.
Yeah, I think we're talking about January. What's the priorities for the three teams in terms of the signings, the players that have came in? What do they need to bring in? If you start with Celtic, what are they looking to bring in? I think it's probably pretty obvious.
Striker. I think that's what they've been crying out for is somebody that's going to put the ball in the back of the net for how many chances they create. They've probably not scored enough goals.
Well, again, striker and midfield. It looks like Martin is talking about trying to freshen it up, but it's where they're going to get this striker. I see Callum Wilson's linked, and they've had that sort of idea with Iheanacho. I mean, it's not really worked in terms of picking up injuries. But Callum Wilson's a very, very good player, and let's say, and I think if Celtic managed to get Callum Wilson, they put themselves in a really strong position. He obviously scored at the weekend, but it's you have to if you want top players, you have to pay for them. So it's now what Celtic really think and what they want to invest. And I think Martin will demand from the board and the owners that this is what we have to do if we want to be successful, and give the opportunity of trying to qualify for Champions League, because that'll be key in Celtic looking to win another title.
You think, Charlie, if you look at Celtic, they've no replaced Kyogo, and that was over probably about a year ago. So they've still no brought that main striker. I don't think they need one striker, I think they need two. And I think maybe they need a winger and probably a centre half. And I've seen Martin talking about they'll have some players in by the weekend. There's only 5-6 days before the game in Sunday.
But it's a tough place to throw a new signing in.
Yeah,
Tynecastle, innit? You know, Brendan done it before and stuck a couple of young boys in, which didn't work. But now Martin to bring new players in this week to put them in at Tynecastle would be a tough ask. But again, if you get the right good players in, then it makes your team better. Then I think they'll give themselves a better chance.
What about Rangers and Hearts? What you think?
I like Rangers' business. I think they've done some good business.
They've done it early enough as well.
Left back, winger, midfielder. But again, as the manager, I still think that they need other options at the top end of the pitch if they can. They've not scored enough goals.
Yeah.
Chermiti, for me, I said it. I've worked to him. I know what he's like. He's a young player that's going to learn. He needs time. He scored a couple of goals in the Old Firm. Obviously, that gives him a bit of time. But he needed to understand about being at the big club and being the number 9. And that's something that he's never been used to in terms of Everton. He was coming on as a sub. When you're actually at Rangers, you have to number 9. The pressure comes quickly to you. So they need another striker without doubt, and possibly another winger with real speed that can get them, at the top end of the pitch and get them up the pitch quicker. So I think Danny Rowe's done a decent enough job so far and got them in a good position from where they were. I feel like there's a lot of good culture and spirit around the club and the players at the moment. So long may that continue for him.
I think if you look at Hearts, they've always sort of did their business early. Their recruitment's been spot on, but now they've got a few injuries. So how will that have an effect in terms of the transfer window?
I think it probably depends on how long these people are going to be out injured for. You've obviously Shankland pulled up at the weekend, Cammy Devlin's been out. You've then got Beningame suspended as well. I think that
key players.
Aye. It's
key
right
players
through
to
the spine of the
That
team.
spine.
I like Devlin. I think he's one of the old-fashioned midfielders where he gets stuck in.
Mm-hmm.
It's no pretty sometimes, no fancy, but he does a real good job for the team.
He's a grafter.
And if Shankland is missing for a long period, he's their main man up top.
I think you've probably seen it in the one game that stands out to me was the Aberdeen game that they lost and Shankland never played. I think he's the real focal point for Braga and Kazadiris to really flourish and play their own game.
So does that push Hearts to try and get McPake early from St Johnstone, and they make it happen? Obviously signed the pre-contract. Does that make him need to push that and plus something else?
That's a possibility, isn't it? To
I think if you're
to
Derek,
strengthen.
I
I think Derek will be demanding to bring some players in if he has these players for maybe a long period of time. To they're in such a great position at this moment in time.
Who's in the best form right now?
I think it's got to be Rangers. I think they've maybe not won it pretty each game, but they've just been churning out wins and they've really climbed up the table since he got the job. I think nobody really seen it coming, and to say that they're actually in a title race now, you probably didn't see that a couple of months ago.
Big boy did never seen that a couple of weeks ago. They were 12 points behind after that Hearts defeat. I think with Danny Rowe came in, I think he's got them organised. Not been brilliant, but got them organised, got them into a good system. It looks like there's a connection back between the supporters and the team. I think that had sort of went for a while, and there was a lot of unrest in terms of the board, and then obviously with Russell Martin coming in and people spoke at the style of football. But I think Danny Rowe's come in and he's understood the job, came in and said, we'll get you organised, they're disciplined, and he's winning games, and that's the most important part. When you're a manager of the old firm, you need to win.
Yeah,
I think that's what brings the fans back as well, is if you're just winning games, if you're up the top of the table, if you're going for league titles, and I think that's what he's kind of spoke about, is that it's not always going to be pretty, but if he just keeps winning games, that's all he can do.
One thing I'll say about Hearts, their home form's been absolutely outstanding. They've not been beat at Tynecastle all season. Celtic have been inconsistent, in their play, and obviously the change of manager and Martin coming back again. So they need to sort of find that more consistency in their play.
Yeah, I think for Rangers, I think like you said, they're more secure. They were too open, expansive at times earlier in the season, and that caused them problems. And again, I like you say, Derek's a hugely experienced manager in terms of within Scotland and England, but just seems like he's built a group of players and a team. The backing of obviously Brighton, but no, I always just keep saying it's about Brighton. I think it's Derek's eye for a player as well, and if I think he must have the final say in what type of player he wants to bring in.
There seems like a real togetherness there.
And let's say I think obviously Graham Jones is in there as sort of technical director as well. So there seems to be a lot of good things happening at Hearts from where it was in previously over the years, and they look like they're aligned. Derek looks like he's enjoying it, and he's getting that in the players. And when you've got good players as well, like Braga and Devlin, Shankland, Craig Gordon pulling saves off still at the age of 42, 43, it's incredible. And again, it's just Halkett, they've got
I think about that good spine of Scottish players also. And I'm coming back to when I was there in 25, 26. You have to have that, a spine of Scottish players. They know what it's about. I think they know what the club's about also. When you play for Hearts, it's an intimidating atmosphere if you're playing well. And I think that's what will be in Sundays. I think the supporters can be that 12th man.
Is this Hearts team better than the 2005-2006 squad?
I'm going to be biased here, and I'm going to say I don't think so. I think the current team are a very good team, and it reminds me a wee bit with the Scottish players. But we had some excellent players. I remember when George came in in 2005, and we didn't have a squad of players, and then he started bringing in Pospisil, Bednar, Borelli, Fisas, Scatcho, Jankowskis was a Champions League winner with Porto. Fisas won the Euros with Greece in 2004. And when he started bringing these boys in, we were like, we've got some good players here. They were unknown, and he had a head of recruitment at the time, Simon Hunt, and George brought these boys in. And then we'd create a young Craig Gordon, and he's still talking about him, he's still playing, with Stephen Presley as our captain, inspirational, Andy Webster, Robbie Nielsen, with Jamie McAllister, with the young Callum Elliott, and obviously myself. So with that core of the team, but then we'd real quality in the squad.
I think that's probably quite similar to what they've got now, is they've got a real Scottish core with a bit of flair and stuff at the top end of the pitch.
Totally agree, and obviously the players that are brought in with the Jamestown analytics for very little money, by the way. and the recruitment has been the key for Hearts, I think, this season.
You know that as a manager, recruitment is key in terms of what you do. But going back to your sort of team and squad, how did you manage to keep it together? Because a lot of foreign players, and you know, the getting culture right. You know, George is, you know, to go and win 12 in a row, and then all of a sudden one day you wake up and he's not there. It's like, you know, having that problem up on the board. There doesn't seem to be that at Hearts.
No, listen, we'd obviously we'd a lot of players. I think we'd something like 4-5 managers that season, and we still managed to split the Old Firm and win the Scottish Cup. So, you know, Hearts are very settled. They've got a good ownership. They've got a very good manager who's not going to it's not going to change. So that was probably the difference, where we were in between managers. So many players coming in and out.
Did that cost you the title?
I don't know, Charlie. I mean, I think that the key game was the New Year game when we played Celtic. I think we were 4 points behind, and then we were 2-0 up, and we lost the game 3-2, and then that sort of Celtic eventually won the league. I think we were at 20 points. I can't say it cost us a title. I think if we'd kept Georgia, we would have had a very good chance, because we would have brought more players in the January window. I think we brought something like 11 players in the one day at Hearts, and it was just too many. There was too many changes. But I still loved the season. It was a great season, you know, and we loved working under George. I mean, he built such a team spirit, a wee bit like Derek's doing just now. You know, with some really good players. It was a brilliant season, a bit chaotic at times, but I still loved it. It was great.
Yeah.
It was a full house, and there was fireworks going off before the game. It was just, I still enjoyed the season. Who will win the title and why?
Well, I didn't think that Hearts could split the Old Firm when I was on here a few months ago. I think Hearts on the driving seat. I think it's all done for Hearts now to give it up. I think they're in a great position. And I think what I've seen of the players and the group and the quality that they have, I cannot see why they can't win the league. Again, I think in the next sort of recruitment in January is massive. What they do to try and stay at the top is key to what they do. But I still think there's going to be twists and turns for now at the end of the season. So I'm going to put my neck on the line, and I still think Hearts are the favourites for the title.
I think it's a great question, because over the last few years you've not really been able to ask it. Like Charlie said, I think January's massive for them all. The game at the weekend, I think, is big. Hearts have had a lot of questions this season, and they've answered them pretty strongly as well. They deserve to be at the top. I don't think anybody's questioning that. So I think they can do it this year.
I think it's going to come down to the wire. I really do. And you're right about the recruitment. I think that'll be the key thing. Celtic need, I think, 4 or 5 players in. I think Hearts will bring a couple in. I still think Rangers will strengthen. You're right, at this moment in time, Hearts are in the driving seat. I don't know, honestly. I just don't know who's. I think it's going to go right down to the last day, to be quite honest with you.